I hadn't seen my daughter in 7 years, but nothing prepared me for what I found when I opened her front door that night. Instead of a hug, instead of "Mom, you're home," I heard a man yelling sharp cold like he was ordering a servant. And when I stepped inside, my heart nearly stopped. My daughter Chloe was on her knees, picking up broken pieces of a plate with bruises up and down her arms, wearing an apron that said, "Holloway Residence, Staff, Staff." In the house I bought for her. Her husband stood over her like he owned her. Her little girl was too scared to say hello without his approval. And when Chloe finally looked at me, she tried to smile as if any of this was normal. That was the moment I knew something terrible had happened while I was gone, and that I had walked into a nightmare I wasn't ready for. My name is Linda Marlowe, and at 60 years old, I thought I had finally lived long enough to stop being surprised by life. I was wrong. The night I returned to Seattle, after 7 long years, the city felt colder than I remembered colder, and somehow unfamiliar. Maybe it was me who had changed. Portland had aged me 7 years, caring for my older sister through surgeries, strokes, and sleepless nights. My knees ached when I stepped off the Greyhound bus, and the straps of my worn duffel bag dug into my shoulder. But my heart felt steady for the first time in years. I was going home. Back to the house I had worked double shifts for. Back to the daughter I had missed every single day. Back to my Chloe. I walked the last block up toward Ridgewood Hills, the wealthy neighborhood in North Seattle, where I'd managed miraculously to buy Chloe a small, warm home before I moved away. I remembered every tear I shed behind a diner counter, every aching step through hospital night shifts, every tip I saved until I had enough for the down payment. I never told Chloe how much I sacrificed. Mothers don't keep score. By the time I reached the porch, my heart was pounding with a mixture of exhaustion and joy. I imagined her opening the door, her arms around me, little Ava running up yelling, "Grandma!" I even rehearsed the words I wanted to say all those years I was gone. "Chloe, honey, I'm here. You're not alone anymore." My hands trembled as I slid my old key into the lock. It still turned. But before I could push the door open, I heard a man's voice, cold sharp, cutting through the quiet like a blade. "Faster, Chloe." "Are you even listening?" I said faster. I froze. That wasn't the voice of a loving husband. That was the voice of a man speaking to staff, a servant. I pushed the door open, an inch afraid even the hinges might betray me. The first thing I saw were pieces of a shattered plate scattered across the hardwood floor. The second thing I saw was my daughter, my Chloe, on her knees, hands trembling as she picked up sharp pieces of ceramic, her arms covered in faint purple bruises. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her dark hair was tied up in a rushed bun, and she wore a stained white apron I had never seen in my life. In bold black letters across the front, it read, "Holloway Residence, Staff." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Chloe didn't see me at first. She was too busy trying to stay quiet, as if even her breathing might anger someone. But then she lifted her eyes. And for one split second, I saw the 16-year-old girl who used to run to the bus stop just to wave at me on my way to work. The girl I raised, the girl I knew. Then her face changed. She stood up too quickly, hiding her arms behind her back. Mom, she whispered. "You're home." Before I could answer, Grant Holloway turned toward me, the same man who once promised to love her. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Well," he said, "this is a surprise." I stepped inside, gripping the doorknob to steady myself. "What's going on here?" Chloe tugged at the apron, ripping it off as fast as she could and stuffing it behind a chair. "It's nothing," she whispered. "Just chores." Chores! My Chloe had never spoken to me like someone terrified of saying the wrong thing. A soft sound came from the hallway. Small footsteps. Then little Ava, 6 years old, peeked out while clutching a worn stuffed rabbit by the ear. She looked older than in the video calls, and more worried than any child should look. "Hi, sweetheart," I said gently. Ava looked at Grant, first seeking permission, before she whispered, "Hi, Grandma." My stomach twisted, and just when I thought the night couldn't hurt more, another woman stepped into the room. Straight posture, perfect hair. eyes that evaluated me like I was a misplaced package on her doorstep. Vivian Holloway Grant's mother, a woman whose money spoke louder than her mercy. She narrowed her eyes. Next time Ms. Marlowe, call ahead. We maintain a routine in this home. This home? The home I bought. The home my daughter was supposed to feel safe in. Grant slid his arm around his mother's shoulder. Chloe does better with structure. She needs guidance. Chloe flinched at the word guidance. I felt a fire rising inside me, the kind of fire only a mother feels when she realizes something is terribly, terribly wrong with her child. The Holloways finally stepped out to attend meetings, leaving a thick silence behind them. The moment the door shut, the entire house seemed to exhale. Chloe sank onto the couch with Ava curled into her side, both of them trembling. You don't have to pretend with me, I whispered. I'm fine, Chloe said too quickly, too quietly, too rehearsed. I reached for her arm. She recoiled so violently, Ava jumped. I'm sorry, Chloe choked out. I'm sorry, Mom. Honey, I whispered, don't apologize. Just tell me what's happening. Her lips quivered. And then at last, the truth broke out in fragmented breaths. It got bad after Ava was born. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. They took me to doctors. They gave me medication. So much medication I couldn't remember days at a time. They said it was to help me. They said I could trust them. She covered her face with her hands, her voice cracking, Mom. I signed papers I didn't understand. Papers they told me were medical forms. But they weren't. My heart dropped into a cold, dark place. I had come home expecting to save her from loneliness. I didn't know I would have to save her from her own husband. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something. If you walked into your daughter's home and saw her treated like this, would you stay quiet or would you fight? If you wouldn't stay silent, type 10. That night, I barely slept. Chloe's confession kept replaying in my head, her trembling voice, the way she clutched Ava, as if she was afraid someone might take her away. I lay awake on the old pull-out couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling something I hadn't felt since Chloe was a little girl, a mother's fear mixed with a mother's fury. By sunrise, I already knew what I had to do. When Chloe handed me the small form granting me access to her medical records, she whispered, Mom, don't let them find out you're going. As if the Holloways owned us. As if the truth needed their permission. I hugged her tight, kissed Ava's forehead, and forced myself out the door. The winter air bit through my coat as I stepped into the cold morning, but the chill grounded me. It reminded me I was alive. I was fighting. And this time, I was here. Seattle General Hospital. The lobby smelled like disinfectant and coffee, the same scent I remembered from years of hospital night shifts. A nurse at the front desk took the paperwork I handed her. Her eyebrows lifted when she saw the name. Chloe Marlowe. Her tone softened. One moment, please. She disappeared down a hallway. The wait felt eternal. When she came back, a doctor walked beside her, a tall woman with tired eyes and a navy sweater under her white coat. Mrs. Marlowe, she asked. I'm Dr. Catherine Monroe. I supervised your daughter's treatment. Her voice was warm, but her expression held something heavier. I followed her into a small consultation room with fluorescent lights humming above us. She didn't waste time. Your daughter was in a very fragile state, Dr. Monroe said gently. Severe postpartum depression can distort reality, disrupt sleep, impair judgment. I know, I whispered. But could she understand legal documents? Dr. Monroe shook her head firmly. Absolutely not. She was on a combination of sedatives and antidepressants that affected memory formation and comprehension. Signing anything during that time would have been impossible to fully process. A nurse entered with a thin folder, her voice quiet. We remember her, she said. She trusted the people who brought her in. She never questioned anything. I closed my eyes. The weight of the folder in my hands felt like holding the truth and the betrayal in physical form. This, Dr. Monroe continued tapping the report, is strong evidence of undue influence. Your daughter was medically incapable of informed consent. Undue influence. The words seared into me like fire. Vivian's cold eyes, Grant's fake smile, Chloe's bruises. It all made sense. Amelia Rhodes. The law office sat downtown glass walls, overlooking Elliott Bay. Inside, everything smelled like paper and determination. Amelia Rhodes, a civil rights attorney, scanned the report silently. She must have read hundreds of these cases before, but her jaw tightened like this one hit a nerve. "This," she finally said, tapping the papers with her pen, "is not neglect." Her voice sharpened. "This is exploitation." My hands curled into fists. "They isolated her," Amelia continued, "controlled her information, altered her state of mind. These signatures," she held up a copy, "are invalid. And the Holloways know exactly what they did. So what happens now?" "Now," Amelia said, leaning back, "we fight." She outlined the plan. 1. A formal demand giving the Holloways 48 hours to return the property and compensate Chloe. 2. A civil lawsuit for fraud and coercion. 3. And if they refused, a criminal complaint for exploiting a vulnerable adult. My pulse quickened. I hadn't realized how long I'd been waiting for someone to say those words. Then Amelia's phone buzzed. She frowned. "Interesting." She turned the screen toward me. "I think you'll want to hear this." It was a voicemail from an unfamiliar number. A woman's voice whispered, "Ms. Rhodes, I used to work in the Holloway estate. I saw Chloe signing papers, heavily sedated. I can testify, but please, keep me anonymous for now." A cold shock ran down my spine. Someone inside their world had seen it all. Amelia looked at me, eyes burning with purpose. "This is big. Very big." Facing the Holloways that afternoon, Amelia and I drove to the Holloway estate, an oversized house sitting smugly on manicured lawns. A man in a tailored suit opened the door and led us to the sitting room, where Vivian Holloway stood beside her husband Charles. Vivian didn't offer a greeting. "Make it fast," she said, arms crossed. Amelia didn't blink. "We're here to resolve the property your son obtained from Chloe Marlowe while she was medically incapable of consenting." Vivian's jaw tightened. Charles scoffed. "Chloe signed willingly. We supported her, fed her, housed her. She owed us." My breath caught. Amelia calmly laid the medical file on the coffee table. "These evaluations say otherwise. Chloe was under sedation, experiencing cognitive impairment, and incapable of understanding any contract." Vivian didn't even look at the papers. "Doctors exaggerate," she said curtly. "Chloe was emotional. New mothers are dramatic." I felt something inside me snap. Before I could speak, Amelia's voice cut through the room like a blade. "You have 48 hours, she said. "Return the house, pay damages, or we proceed with civil and criminal charges. Exploiting a vulnerable adult is not something even the Holloway name can bury." Vivian stepped closer, her voice dropping to a cold whisper. "Mrs. Marlowe, be careful. Families like ours don't appreciate being provoked." I met her gaze without flinching. "I'm not scared of you." Something flickered in her expression just for a second. Amelia gathered the documents. "We expect your answer soon." As we walked out into the stiff winter wind, Amelia murmured, "Prepare yourself. People like them. They never give in quietly. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something. If a powerful family threatened you like that, would you back down or fight harder if you'd fight Type 10? 3 nights after Amelia delivered the ultimatum, the house felt heavier than usual, as if the walls themselves were bracing for impact. Maybe I felt it first, the kind of instinct only mothers and grandmothers have, the instinct that wakes you up seconds before a baby cries. Chloe sat beside me on the couch, folding laundry, Ava asleep in her old bedroom, with a soft nightlight glowing under the door. The house was quiet, too quiet, until a sudden thunderous bang shook the front door. Chloe froze. Another bang harder, followed by a familiar voice slurring with alcohol and rage. "Chloe, open the damn door! We're not done!" Her face drained of color. The shirt she was folding slipped from her fingers. "Mom!" "He's not supposed to be here. He's not allowed." "I know," I whispered. "Take Ava, go to the hallway, lock the door. Don't come out until I call you. Mom, go." I placed my hands on her shoulders, steadying the panic rising in her eyes. Then I pushed her gently toward the bedroom hallway. She scooped Ava into her arms and disappeared, closing the door with a soft click. Another violent crash rattled the frame. The wood groaned. Grant's voice turned feral. "Do you think you can steal my house? My family? You're nothing without us. Chloe, nothing!" I grabbed the phone and dialed 911 with trembling fingers. 911. "What's your emergency? This is Linda Marlowe Grant. Holloway is violating a restraining order and trying to break into the home. My daughter and granddaughter are inside with me. Please hurry. Units are already in the area. Stay on the line." Grant slammed something heavy against the door. The lock bent inward. "You think a judge can keep me away from my own family? Let me in." I stepped back, putting myself between the door and the hallway where Chloe and Ava were hiding. My heart hammered. My breath shook, but my feet didn't move. "No one touches my family," I whispered to myself. Not again. The wood finally splintered. Grant stumbled halfway inside, eyes red-faced, twisted rage dripping from every word. "You ruined everything," he barked. "You turned her against me, Grant," I said firmly. "You need to leave. The police are on their way." "Shut up, Linda," he roared, staggering forward. But before he could take another step, blue and red lights exploded across the living room windows. A final furious scream tore out of him as officers burst in. Police step away from the door. Grant tried to run, stumbling backward and tripping over the broken wood, but the officers caught him before he made it 2 steps. His shouts echoed through the cold night as they dragged him outside. I didn't move until an officer approached me. "Ma'am, he's in custody. He won't be coming back tonight." Only then did I let out the breath I'd been holding. Chloe opened the hallway door slowly, Ava clinging to her shoulder, with sleepy, frightened eyes. "Is he gone?" she whispered. "For now, sweetheart," I said softly. "For now." Chloe buried her face in my chest and cried quietly, the kind of cry a woman cries when she realizes she's survived something she never should have endured. The final hearing, 3 weeks later, we stood together in Judge Brantley's courtroom. Chloe's hands didn't shake anymore. She stood straight shoulders, back, eyes steady, like someone learning to breathe again after living underwater for too long. Amelia presented everything. The medical evaluations. The nurse's statement. The voicemail from the former housekeeper, who witnessed the sedated signing. The photos of bruises, the contract dates, the medication logs. Then she lifted Chloe's old staff apron in front of the court. The room went silent. Judge Brantley read through every page, his expression grave. Finally, he spoke. "Given the evidence of impaired capacity and undue influence, all contracts signed by Ms. Chloe Marlowe during that period are hereby declared void. The Ridgewood Hills property is restored solely to her name." Chloe gasped, pressing her hands to her mouth. He continued, "The Holloway family will pay damages totaling $650,000 for emotional suffering, property value, and legal expenses. Grant Holloway will undergo mandatory psychiatric treatment and remain on probation for 18 months. A quiet sob escaped Chloe's throat, not from sadness, but from the shock of finally being free. I squeezed her hand. She squeezed back firm this time, strong. We walked out of the courthouse into crisp Seattle air, the sky finally starting to clear after weeks of storms. Ava skipped ahead, humming softly, as if she sensed something new around us, something lighter. At home, Chloe went to the kitchen drawer and pulled out the apron she had once been forced to wear. The black letters, Holloway Residence. Staff looked smaller than before, like a shadow that no longer scared her. "Do you want me to throw it away?" I asked. She shook her head. "No. I want you with me." We walked outside together, just the two of us. Chloe took one deep breath, then dropped the apron into the trash can. The lid closed with a gentle thud, not dramatic, not loud, just final. "Mom," she said quietly. "Yes, can you stay? Not for a week, not for a month. Just stay." I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, holding her close. "I'm not going anywhere," I whispered. "You're safe now, and you're not alone." Inside the house, Ava called out to us, her voice full of laughter again. Chloe smiled, really smiled for the first time in years. And in that moment, I knew our home wasn't just returned. It was reborn. Before you go, let me ask you, how did this story make you feel? If you want more endings, where justice wins, comment 100 below. Tell me what country you're watching from, and please share this video so more people can hear stories like ours.